Welcome back to Unadvertised. I'm your host, Melina Lopez. Disclaimer: the information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. The podcast should not be considered professional advice, and the content discussed will include sensitive topics such as sexual assault, self harm, violence, and mental illness. Listen with caution. Today's episode is about Dana. Dana grew up in a small town where everyone knows everyone. When she turned 19, she decided to join the army. After she completed boot camp, she was stationed in South Korea. Her job was administrative, but every soldier would usually go to her office at least once during their 1 year assignment. She met a lot of soldiers through work. Mostly male soldiers would always ask her if she wanted to go downtown with them. Dana was always wise and she would take her what they call a quote unquote battle buddy, which is just a fellow female soldier that would accompany her. When Dana had been in South Korea for about 8 months, she met an aviation soldier who had come in to get his ID card. He asked her to go downtown, and like every other time, she asked her battle buddy to go with her. They had a very nice time with him. He was a gentleman, very respectful, opened doors for them, walked them to the door at the end of the night, gave her a hug, and didn't even attempt to do anything else. For the next 2 months, they started hanging out more and more. Dana began to feel very comfortable with him. She felt like he was becoming a true friend. One day, he came to visit her at her office and asked her to come to the barracks to watch a football game later that night. She didn't even give it a second thought before she agreed. At this point, she felt very comfortable with him, so she decided to go alone. Later that night, she went to his barracks, knocked on the door, and then heard somebody say, "Come in." When she opened the door, went in, and saw 12 soldiers in the room, Dana knew something was off. She felt a knot in the pit of her stomach. As Dana walked in, she was convincing herself that everything was fine because he was a nice guy. He wouldn't let anything happen to her. Besides, they were her fellow soldiers. They have her back in combat, so they wouldn't let anything happen to her either. Dana then went around the front of the bunks, grabbed a beer, and sat down on one of the bunks. They all sat around and watched the football game. When about an hour went by, and she heard somebody yell, "Lock the door!" Confused, Dana turned to look at the door to see two soldiers had locked and then blocked the door with their bodies. She realized she was in danger. She jumped up and was ready to fight her way to the door, when all of a sudden, one of the guys hit her in the mouth so hard that she fell back and partially blacked out. She then realized that there were 12 of them and one of her. She didn't stand a chance. For the next 90 minutes, each of the 12 soldiers took their turns raping her, and the others just held her down. Dana yelled and screamed when she could, but it wasn't enough to stop them from hitting her over and over. After the assault, they threw her outside, like she was trash. Dana was now naked, beaten, covered in bruises, and sore from the assault, but she did the best that she could to grab her clothes from the ground as fast as she could when she turned around frightened because she heard a barracks door open. One of the 12 soldiers went over to go and help her get dressed. He handed her clothes and held her up as she got dressed. The soldiers then walked with Dana half a mile to her barracks. At that moment, Dana was confused, thinking to herself, "Why is this guy helping me? Did he not hear me yelling and screaming?" But then she soon realized, as they walked by the hospital and the police station, that he was making sure she didn't report the assault. He walked her all the way to her barracks, turned around, and left without saying a word. Dana thought to herself, they have nothing to worry about. She had no plans of reporting the assault. Dana began to blame herself for going in that room as if she was giving them permission to do whatever they wanted. She regretted having that beer as if she was giving them permission as soon as she opened it. Dana knew that if she pressed charges, she would be stuck at the base until after her court hearing. Dana had less than 60 days until she was heading home for 30 days and then to her next duty station. All she wanted to do was leave Korea, go home, and cry in her own bed until it was time to go to her next station, which is exactly what she did. She still hadn't told anyone at that point. Dana had distanced herself from the gang rape. She was so disconnected from her body that she didn't even realize what happened to her. About 3 months after the gang rape, she was at her next duty station and had to go get her annual OBGYN exam. It was at this time that she found out she had venereal warts. After finding this out, she had to go for weekly treatments to get the warts burned off. Every week for the next 6 weeks, she was reminded of what happened to her, one who gave it to her. Dana grew so angry at those men for giving her an STD that she had hoped that the first guy who raped her was the one who gave her the venereal warts, and that somehow all of the other guys had gotten it too. That is how bitter and how angry she was about it. It took Dana a long time to come to peace with the fact that she had contracted this STD. Dana continued to serve her country several years after. This sexual trauma happened 27 years ago, but still impacts her to this day. Dana has a hard time being in crowds or rooms where she can't see the door because she doesn't know what anyone looked like. Going to the Veterans Affairs Hospital is a struggle for her. She often wonders if any of her assailants go to the same hospital. Healing from her assault has been a daily effort. She's finally been able to get to a healthy place in her healing process and can now speak publicly about her sexual trauma and healing process. It's heartbreaking that she trusted her fellow soldiers to have her back like she has theirs, and then they can just turn around and treat her this way. It's baffling to me that we have created a culture where victims immediately blame themselves. The men and women who serve armed forces should not have to work in an environment where harassment and sexual assault is widespread and victims face retribution for reporting their assaults. They risk their lives to keep us safe, but who's keeping them safe? These are rights that are constantly violated. But we're here to speak up and talk about it to hopefully prevent the next one. Dana's story is a powerful reminder of resilience of a human spirit and the importance of support, understanding, and empathy for survivors of sexual trauma. As we conclude today's episode, let us remember that healing takes time, and every survivor's journey is unique. Thank you for tuning in to Unadvertised. If you or someone you know has experienced a similar situation, I encourage you to reach out for help. Remember, sharing can be a powerful step towards healing. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Deezer, and Player FM. Your feedback helps us grow and bring you more content. If you would like to reach out and submit your story, please email us at unadvertisedinfo.crime@gmail.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, take care of each other, and always remember that you're not alone.